7 insane biblical landmarks you can visit alone. The shocking truth revealed, the ground trembled beneath their feet as they approached the ancient ruins, a place where every stone whispered secrets and shadows held the weight of untold stories. Did the sun just flicker? The air thickened with mystery, wrapping around them like a heavy, damp fog. What lay hidden in these relics of the past? They were about to discover 7 astonishing biblical landmarks, each one more baffling than the last. What if the truth twisted your understanding of history itself? First up was the imposing Mount Sinai, where Moses received the 10 Commandments. Locals spoke in hushed tones about a hidden cave beneath the mountain. They claimed it housed remnants of divine revelation, actual tablets that glowed at night. Imagine standing at the foot of that majestic mountain, heart pounding, breath catching in your throat. What truths had lain dormant for centuries, just waiting for the brave to unveil them? Next was the eerie pool of Bethesda in Jerusalem. Legend says it's a gateway to the other side, a liminal space where the sick and the desperate gathered, hoping for miracles. Those who hung around spoke of seeing shadows flicker across the water, figures of the healed coming back to watch. It was a blend of hope and fear that clung to the air, making every ripple in the pool feel like a haunting reminder of lives changed, or lost forever. Then there was the mysterious location of the Ark of the Covenant, rumored to lie forgotten in an unknown Ethiopian church, and some claimed that if you stood close enough, you could hear its whispering echoes. Just think about that, an object of immense power and reverence, hidden from the world, and it might just be waiting for someone daring enough to find it. As they delved deeper into these astonishing tales, excitement mingled with an electric tension, a thrill of the unknown. What else could possibly be out there? What was truth? What was legend? Curiosity surged through them like a tidal wave. This journey was beginning to feel like an awakening of sorts, each landmark a puzzle piece that might fit into a much larger picture, one that might change everything they thought they knew. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As they moved toward the next landmark, the astonishing city of Petra, its striking rose-red rock facades basking in the sunset glow, an unsettling thought crept in. Could this beautiful, lost city be hiding more than just architectural marvels? What if each turn led them deeper into an enigma? Were they prepared for what they might uncover? Would the truth be something they could truly handle, or was it better left buried in the sands of time? The moment they stepped into Petra, anxiety curled in their stomachs like smoke from a simmering fire. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows that danced along the crimson cliffs. It was like walking through a forgotten dream, a sight both breathtaking and ominous. They felt the weight of history pressing down on them, as if the ancient stones were aware of their intrusion. Is it just me, or does it feel alive here? Whispered Jake, his voice barely breaking the heavy silence. Samantha nodded, swallowing hard as she glanced at a narrow passageway that seemed to beckon them deeper into the rock face. The narrowness closed in on them, as if the walls were ready to whisper their secrets. I don't know about you, but I feel like we're being watched. Chills raced down her spine. With cautious resolve, they pressed forward. Suddenly, an unsettling thought struck. What if Petra was more than just a city carved from stone? What if it was a veil guarding something incredible, maybe even terrifying? Hart's laser focus was drawn to an archway that opened up into a larger chamber. Intrigued but hesitant, they exchanged glances, their curiosity piqued. As they crossed the threshold, their breath caught in their throats. Before them was an astonishing sight, carvings of angels and a colossal structure dominating the space, a place that seemed to vibrate with ancient energy. Each figure was impossibly lifelike, eyes that glimmered as if they could see right through them. Do you think this was a place of worship? Jake murmured, all mixing with trepidation. Maybe, Samantha said, stepping closer to a swirling design etched into the stone floor. But it feels more like a warning. She shivered, her mind painting images of ancient rituals and sacrifices long forgotten. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed off the walls, a whisper, almost imperceptible, like a voice from beyond time. "Did you hear that?" Jake tensed, eyes widening. Before Samantha could respond, shadows moved within the chamber. A flickering form darted just out of their line of sight, causing the hairs on their necks to stand tall. Was it a trick of the light? Their hearts raced in tandem, pounding a warning in their chests. Was Petra revealing its secrets or challenging them to leave? "Let's get out of here," Jake urged, taking a step back, but Samantha remained rooted in place, her curiosity overriding her instincts. "Wait. We can't just leave. If there's a hidden truth here, we have to find it." That abrupt declaration made the air even thicker, as if the whole chamber held its breath, inviting them to dig deeper. With renewed determination, they ventured closer to the source of the sound. The atmosphere thickened, a tangible tension crackling like electricity. Suddenly, the shadows coalesced into shapes, ghostly figures, just beyond the threshold of perception, flickering in and out of existence. Their mouths moved in silent cries, their outstretched hands beckoning, or warning. Samantha's gut twisted painfully. This was beyond historical significance, it felt like a reckoning. She reached for Jake's hand. "What if we're meant to witness this?" "No, Sam, this isn't right," he said, firm but panicked, pulling her gently toward the exit. But before they could retreat, the ground shook violently beneath them. Dust and stone rained down, reverberating with an otherworldly energy. They stumbled, gripping each other tightly as the sounds of ancient voices grew louder, intertwining with their own escalating dread. "What do we do?" Jake shouted over the chaos, eyes wide with fear. The tremors intensified, and through the chaos, a single, clear whisper cut through the same voice they had heard before, louder now, demanding attention. "Seek the truth." With one final shudder, the chaos ceased, and the chamber fell silent, leaving them breathless. What lay at the heart of Petra? What truth was hidden beneath the stones? As they steadied themselves, the haunting words echoed through their minds. They couldn't turn back now, could they? What if unwelcome truths awaited them, igniting a conflict between what they knew and what they believed? They had unearthed something they just didn't know yet what that something could lead them to. When the last echoes of the whisper faded, an uneasy stillness settled over the chamber, oppressive and thick. Jake glanced nervously around, eyes darting to the shadows that clung to the walls like secrets waiting to be summoned. The flickering figures had vanished, leaving behind a chilling question. What had they just witnessed? Samantha inhaled sharply, her analytical mind racing ahead as she gripped Jake's arm tighter. "We need to understand. Whatever this is, it feels significant. Perhaps it's a message." She swallowed hard, fighting the anxiety in her throat. "The truth, it's calling us." Jake shifted uneasily. Each passing moment felt like an intrusion into a sacred space. But at what cost, Sam? What if the truth isn't something we can handle? He was trying to steady his rapid heartbeat, but the fear coiled tighter. Samantha moved forward, her steps echoing against the stone floor that felt too alive underfoot. The air crackled with a tension that made her skin prickle. "If we leave now, we might never come back. We have to press on." The determination in her voice cut through the tension, but Jake remained unconvinced. "Just promise me we'll be cautious." "We can't let our curiosity blind us," he replied, falling into step behind her. They ventured deeper into the chamber, where stone walls seemed to whisper with the weight of untold stories. Samantha ran her fingers over the carvings of the angels, their expressions frozen in time, a mix of hope and despair that gripped at her heart. "These figures, they seem to convey something. Look at the anguish on their faces," she murmured. As if summoned by her words, a shudder rolled through the room, and the air thickened again. The walls groaned lightly, causing them to pause. "Did you feel that?" Jake whispered, his voice tightly laced with fear. Before she could answer, the ground beneath them trembled slightly, and a low rumble resonated from deep within the heart of Petra. The oppressive atmosphere was almost palpable. They moved cautiously toward a massive stone door, intricately carved with symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light. "What if this is another way out?" Jake suggested, hope creeping into his voice. "Or another trap." Samantha's voice trailed off. The thrill of discovery was battling the instinctual warning in her gut. The door seemed to pulse, alive, throbbing with a heartbeat of its own. She stepped hesitantly closer. Without warning, the door creaked open, revealing a dark passageway shrouded in shadows. A gust of wind escaped, swirling around them like the exhalation of a sleeping beast. It smelled of damp earth and secrets long buried. Whatever lay inside felt both inviting and menacing. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, the barrier of fear thinned. "We have to see what's in there," Samantha said, heart racing with excitement. But as they moved past the threshold into the darkness, the door slid shut behind them with a thundering finality. The sound echoed ominously, a declaration that they were now entwined with whatever lay ahead. The air grew colder, and the whispering returned, swirling around them like a storm. "Seek the truth." The voices morphed into a choral cacophony, drowning out their thoughts, demanding they listen, urging them forward into the abyss. Then, suddenly, the ground heaved once more, and the dark hallway erupted in a flash of light. The sight that met their eyes sent shockwaves through their very being. A surreal tableau laid out before them, one that twisted everything they thought they knew about Petra and its ancient secrets. What awaited them was more shocking than they ever imagined. But that revelation was only the beginning. As they stood on the precipice of discovery, a sinister realization dawned. The truths hidden here were not just historical, they were alive, hungry, waiting for the unwary to stumble into their embrace. Would they find the answers they sought, or would they become another echo trapped within the stones? With their fates precariously intertwined, they stepped deeper into the unfolding mystery, not realizing that every choice bore consequences that could shake the very foundations of belief. The tableau before them was nothing short of a nightmare made manifest. Gigantic stone statues loomed in the dark, their visages twisted and grotesque, a stark contrast to the graceful forms of the angels above. They represented figures enshrined in fear, a pantheon of ancient gods long forgotten, each one seemingly aware, their hollow eyes boring into Jake and Samantha. What are they?" Jake stammered, his voice betraying his growing terror. He stumbled backward, heart racing, desperate to find a sense of safety in a landscape of terror. Samantha's face was pale, illuminated by the harsh glow emanating from one of the larger statues, depicting an enshrined creature part human, part beast, its fanged mouth twisted into a malicious grin. "They must be a warning," she said, her voice shaking. She reached for Jake's arm, anchoring herself in the derangement around them. "This place, it's sacred in a way we can't even begin to comprehend. We need to tread carefully." As they stepped forward, the whispers morphed into frantic cries. "Awake, awaken." The words echoed like a chant, a frantic pulse that matched the quickening beat of their hearts. Every step felt like an intrusion, a violation against the very air that longed to forget. "Maybe this is what they wanted," Samantha mused, an edge of fear in her voice. "A sacrifice to stir the past. Or perhaps a choice." Before she could finish, the air trembled violently, a deep rumbling that rose from the very stones beneath their feet. The statues seemed to shift, their shadows flickering like flames, taunting them. "Sam!" Jake shouted, panic flaring. "We need to go back." But already, Samantha was propelled forward, eyes wide, drawn deeper into the malevolent heart of the chamber. She couldn't shake off the sensation that they had been called here, that every moment had led them to this precise juncture. Suddenly, one of the statues stirred, a heavy stone limb moving with agonizing slowness. Jake gasped, terror wrapping around him like a vice. The ground shook again, this time more violently, causing both Jake and Samantha to brace themselves against the wall. "This cannot be happening!" Jake cried, his voice ragged as another statue began to animate, its eyes snapping open like dark flames igniting within a hollow shell. "Jake, listen!" Samantha's eyes were clear with purpose, though laced with fear. We need to understand what's happening. Look, these creatures, they appear to be guarding something. All around them, the whispers culminated into a desperate array of murmurs. Seek the truth, they repeated, as though mocking their very fear. Suddenly, a low voice emerged from the cacophony, deeper and darker than the others. Only the brave and the wise can hear the truth that lies within. At that moment, a beam of light broke through the murky shadows, illuminating a stone altar at the center of the room. Ancient glyphs shimmered, revealing a series of map-like inscriptions, claiming to unveil the hidden histories of the land. They're not just statues, they're guardians. This is where the secrets of Petra are kept. Samantha exclaimed, rushing forward, eager to decipher the inscription. Jake hesitated. But what if they're not just guarding? What if they want to keep those secrets? What if we awaken something we can't control? The intensity of his fear flared again, their world trembled in anticipation, caught in a web of ancient mythology and unyielding power. As Samantha reached for the inscriptions, Jake grabbed her arm, terror washing over him. Wait! What if? But his warning sliced through the air too late. The moment her fingers grazed the symbols, a piercing scream echoed, drowning out their thoughts and pulling them into the depths of chaos. Suddenly, the walls began to crack, and the ground shook violently as a surge of darkness rushed towards them, threatening to swallow them whole. Time was spinning out of control, and with a single movement, the fate of both their lives and the very truth of Petra hung precariously in the balance. Would they uncover the preternatural secret, or would they become mere shadows in this ancient tale? A tumultuous energy filled the air, intensifying as the chaos erupted. As shadows enveloped them, Jake felt the unbearable weight of a choice unmade, risk facing the unknown or become another whisper in the dark. And then everything went black. The darkness was suffocating, wrapping around Jake and Samantha like a shroud. All sound faded, swallowed by an overwhelming silence that toyed with their senses. Time lost meaning, stretching endlessly until a hot pang of panic ignited in their chests. They were trapped not just physically, but within a maelstrom of unanswerable questions and fears that clawed at their minds. Jake stirred, his heart thudding painfully. As his eyes cracked open, he managed to catch glimpses of flickering lights and shadowy forms dancing around them. A low, echoing chant surged through the air, rising and falling in hypnotic waves. Awake, awake, the voices melded into a singular entity, echoing the very thoughts that haunted him. Sam! He gasped, a tightness forming in his throat. Where are you? Her voice cut through the chaos like a razor. Jake! I'm here. His relief flickered, then dimmed again as he struggled to rise. The ground beneath them felt alive, shifting, the stone warm against his skin. He blinked, trying to clear the darkness from his mind. But shadows loomed larger, more persistent, wrapping around him like tendrils eager to drag him back into the black abyss. Over here. Samantha's silhouette appeared, swaying as she stood. The light from an ancient glyph cast a faint glow upon her face, illuminating her eyes that sparkled with determination yet quaked with fear. It's like they're trying to pull us into a memory or a warning. With a tentative step forward, she reached out toward the altar. The moment her fingers neared the glimmering glyphs, a surge of energy rippled through the air, crackling like static electricity. The statues, once mere stone sentinels, began to vibrate with life, their eyes pulsating with a sinister red glow. No! Jake shouted, racing to her side. But something gripped his ankle, a chilling tendril of darkness ensnaring him, dragging him down. He stumbled but fought the pull. Get away from it. Samantha's resolve faltered for just a moment as she stared into the flames of the Guardian's gaze, an indecipherable maze of history and terror. What if this is the truth they're trying to reveal? But as she spoke, the ground beneath them thundered violently, shifting in response to her words. Jake's heart raced, visions of ancient horror flooding his mind. It's a trap. We have to leave. The dark force coiling around him intensified, sinking deeper, as if the chamber itself was alive, pulsating with the very essence of those long forgotten. Only moments passed, yet it felt like an eternity before he found his voice again. "Sam, we need to go now." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, a clash of emotions poured forth. Fear mixed with the desperate need for knowledge, a hunger that nearly overwhelmed them. One touch could unveil their secrets, "Jake," she pleaded, still drawn to the altar's iridescent glow. With a fierce pull, Jake tore himself free from the dark grasp beneath him. "Or," he gasped, panting, "it could unleash something that will destroy us." Walls heaved, groaning as though sharing in their urgent conflict. The whispers morphed into snarls of anguish and fury, reverberating through every stone. Restless spirits hungry for release, the voice boomed ominously, wrapping around them. Just as the intensity reached its peak, Samantha's resolve wavered. Her fingers hovered, just on the brink of touching the surface of the altar. "Jake, what if we're meant to do this?" Before he could respond, shadows erupted around them, forming a vortex that pulled tighter, threatening to fracture their very essence. The altar shone brighter, an otherworldly light illuminating the cryptic symbols, revealing not just inscriptions, but remarkably vivid images of the past, faces twisted in despair, screams of anguish woven into the fabric of history. "Stop!" Jake yelled, but it was too late. Samantha's touch ignited a wave of power, sending shockwaves through the room. A blinding flash engulfed them, drowning everything in light. When it faded, they found themselves standing on the precipice of an unknown realm, the dark chamber behind them crumbling into a whirlpool of shadows. Jake's heart raced at the realization they had chosen the path of revelation, but at what cost? They stood before an expansive landscape of swirling mist and towering mountains silhouetted against a blood-red sky. And as the echoes of their names faded into the air like whispered prayers, the ground trembled beneath them, a foreboding omen that something even darker awaited. "What have we done?" Jake muttered, dread cracking his voice, and as the winds howled with echoes of ancient lament, uncertainty loomed larger. They were no longer just lost souls, their fates were tangled with the very myths they had awakened. What ancient horrors awaited in this new land? Would the knowledge they craved bring salvation or deeper doom? The answers loomed in the distance like the shadows creeping across the horizon. A chill coursed through Jake as the realization hit him. They weren't just in another world, they were in the heart of something unfathomably ancient. The mountains loomed overhead like silent giants, while the mist swirled with a sentience of its own, seemingly alive, watching their every move. Samantha stepped forward, her eyes widening at the shifting landscape. "Look at that!" she exclaimed, pointing toward a massive stone structure rising at the center of the valley, its surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with energy. "It's calling to us." "Are you crazy?" Jake barked, his instincts screaming for caution. "We have no idea what that place is." But Samantha was already on the move. The pull of the unknown was irresistible, tugging at her deeper than fear. Every step she took resonated with the past, each footfall a reminder that they had crossed over into uncharted territory. Jake gritted his teeth and followed, anxiety tightening his chest. As they approached the structure, shadows flickered around them like whispers of the past come to life. The stone felt warm, almost alive, and as they got closer, an odd hum filled the air, a melody that tugged at fragments of memories they couldn't quite grasp. "Do you hear that?" Jake asked, his heart racing. "It's like it wants us here." Samantha nodded, entranced. "It's beautiful." But her voice barely masked the tremor of fear that quaked beneath the surface. Suddenly, from the swirling mists emerged figures cloaked in dark, tattered robes. They glided toward them, faces hidden in shadows, their movements ethereal, like smoke curling through the air. Jake's heart surged in his throat. "What do they want?" "We need to back away, Sam." But Samantha stood rooted, her gaze locked onto the nearest figure. "Maybe they can help us," she murmured, enthralled. "Maybe they know what we awakened." Before Jake could pull her away, one of the figures stretched out a hand, fingers elongated like skeletal branches. "Seekers," the voice rasped, deep and echoing, resonating in the very marrow of Jake's bones. "You have crossed the borders of knowledge. What is it you desire?" Jake swallowed hard, his throat dry as dust. We want to understand. The truth is not without consequence," the apparition interjected, its voice a chilling whisper that sent shivers down his spine. The atmosphere thickened, heavy with an electric tension. "Knowledge invites danger. What you seek could turn to ash in your hands." Jake's stomach lurched as the weight of those words bloomed into reality. He exchanged a panicked glance with Samantha, who seemed lost in the figure's haunting gaze. Her mouth opened as if to speak, but no words came. "And what do you offer the abyss?" The figure persisted, its eyes boring into Jake, peeling away layers of bravado and revealing his deepest fears. "Your will, your sanity. Are you prepared for the darkness that follows revelation?" "Stop!" Shout out Jake, the urgency in his voice slicing through the tension. "We don't want any part of this darkness." The air shimmered, and for a moment, Jake felt the ground beneath them pulse with an otherworldly heartbeat, fear electrifying every inch of his being. "Desire binds you to the shadows," the figures chorused, moving closer, their outstretched hands like invitations and threats all at once. "And in seeking, you will find not what you expect but what has long been buried. Will you pay this price, seekers?" Before Jake could answer, the floor beneath them began to dissolve into swirling mist, and his mind raced with the weight of their decision. He could sense Samantha's fascination mixing dangerously with the fear swirling inside him. "Sam, we need to decide now." He tried to pull her back, but she was fixated on the specters, eyes wide with wonder. As Jake wrestled with his thoughts, he knew the abyss was hungry, eager for their choice. The mists thickened around them, suffocating the air, and the voices of the figures swelled, echoing promises and threats. The ground trembled violently, leaving them on the brink of falling into the unknown. "Answer!" The voices thundered, demanding a choice that could either herald a new dawn or plunge them into eternal night, and beneath the weight of fate, as shadows whispered dark truths and the abyss poised to devour them, Samantha made her choice. What would linger beyond that precipice? Would they embrace the darkness, or would the light, if there was any, cut through the fog? Jake's heart thundered in his chest, dreading the answer that drew near. Jake felt the ground drop beneath them as the mist enveloped their feet like a hungry serpent. Panic clawed at his heart. "No!" he screamed, reaching out to grab Samantha, but his hands passed through the fog, rendered useless against the smothering haze. The specters loomed closer, their faces still hidden in darkness but their intentions as clear as daylight. They hovered just at the edge of tangible reality, an eerie blend of shadows and despair. Jake's mind raced. Had they truly crossed a threshold into a realm beyond the human grasp? Samantha's eyes sparkled with an unsettling curiosity, her mouth forming the words of a dreadful incantation. "I'm ready," she whispered, defiance carved into her features. "I want to know, Jake. I have to know." "No," he implored, his own voice trembling as if pulled by the weight of the shadows. "Please, Sam, we can't," but the words lodged in his throat. Suddenly, the world around them shifted violently. Every pulse and thrum from the stone structure felt as if the legends and stories of lost souls were rising to enact their vengeance. The figures raised their hands, and jagged lines of black fire burst from the earth, illuminating their skeletal fingers. "Embrace the truth!" they cried as the flames danced like lost spirits. "The price is but your light." The ground beneath Jake's feet pulsated, and he could feel the essence of something dark below, a cavern of secrets and lunacy yawning just beneath his soul. "Sam! We need to go." Panic wrapped around him, tightening like a noose. But something essential between them had shifted. Samantha, gripped by a thirst for understanding, was slipping away, deeper into the shadows. In the dim light, he noticed her expression. It was a mixture of awe and terror, one that came from teetering on the very brink of discovery. The shadows unfurled around her, wrapping her in their inky embrace. They pulled at her, whispering to her, promising revelations that could shatter the very fabric of existence. Jake winced, realizing he was losing her. "Samantha!" he shouted, desperation coursing through his veins. His heart pounded as he felt the fire growing closer, the flames licking around his ankles, stoking a primal fear. "Join us!" The figures beckoned, their words like velvet drapes concealing untold horrors. Join us, and your mind will awaken, your essence will transcend. Samantha's hand lifted slightly, as if to touch the fire, but Jake dashed forward, a fierce resolve igniting within him. He seized her wrist, trying to pull her from the alluring grasp of darkness. Don't you see what this is? It's a trap, Sam. We can't let it have you. Her eyes flared with indecision. But, what if it's more than a trap? What if enough? His voice shattered the spell she was under, snapping her back to the present. You have to fight it. We don't know what lies on the other side. And then, the air changed. The figures paused, the tightening grip of shadows loosening slightly. Their whispers turned hissing, angry and chaotic, intensifying the flames and causing the ground to tremble more violently. You would choose ignorance? They taunted, as layers of chaos screamed through the mist, buzzes of static lashing against Jake's thoughts. You are but fleeting crumbs in a meal destined for the void. No. Jake screamed back, undeterred. We are not nothing. We will not be your meal. With a surge of strength, he yanked Samantha backward, and together they stumbled away from the looming wall of darkness. Just as the shadows twisted and recoiled, a low howl echoed through the air, reverberating through the fabric of the realm they stood upon. Everything felt as if it would collapse upon them, hanging by a fragile thread. Breathless, they turned, the stone structure still towering behind them, urging them forward but now with a menacing edge. Whatever ancient power it wielded, it wasn't finished yet. We need to find a way out, Jake murmured, his heart still racing as they ran deeper into the valley. Did the fire follow? Did the whispers chase them? Were they out of the shadows only to become prey for the depths of an even greater darkness? And as the mist curled and tightened its grip around them again, a single question filled Jake's mind: the surface. Would they emerge from what awaited them? What truth would they ultimately uncover if they dared to decipher the whispers buried within the mist? The mist thickened, swirling around them like a living entity, tightening its grip as if trying to mask their presence from whatever dark forces lay just beyond the veil. Jake's breath came in rapid bursts, heart hammering against his ribs. Every instinct screamed that they were not alone, that the whispers from the shadows were more than just an echo they were hunting. Stay close. He urged Samantha, pulling her alongside him as they fled into the unknown. But her eyes sparkled with that same dangerous curiosity he had seen moments before. She was torn between the safety of retreat and the tantalizing pull of the darkness. What if we could uncover something incredible? She pressed, her voice tinged with the thrill of discovery, despite the horror surrounding them. What if it can help us? It could destroy us. Jake snapped, panic surging anew. We don't know what we're dealing with, Sam. Just, trust me. She hesitated, her gaze flicking toward the encroaching shadows. What if this place is the key to understanding everything? The truth about the specters, the mythology, everything. Or it's the key to our graves. His words hung in the air, heavy and foreboding. But as they continued, something within Jake felt strained, as if a fracture appeared between them that reverberated in the very fabric of their reality. Suddenly, a jagged rock protruded from the ground ahead, illuminated by the eerie light of the shadows creeping ever closer. It looked almost like an altar, worn smooth from centuries of use. Jake skidded to a halt, instinctively pulling Samantha close. Look. He squinted, heart pounding as he stepped forward. In the stone, strange carvings were etched, deep symbols twisted and intertwined in terrible design. They glowed faintly with a crimson hue, pulsing with a life of their own. Do you feel that? Samantha whispered, eyes wide, fingers reaching toward the surface of the stone, drawn by an invisible thread. A thrill coursed through her, one he could see in the way her hands trembled. Stop. He pulled her back just as the air crackled around the altar. The symbols fluttered like shadows brought to life, releasing a low, mournful wail that rose from the depths of the earth. The specters danced menacingly at the periphery of their vision, whispering promises that tugged at Samantha's thoughts, wild and hungry. Join us. Know the truth, don't listen to them. Jake shouted over the rising tide of sound, gripping her tighter. He felt the pull of something vast, dark, and dangerous surrounding them. This isn't just some history lesson, Sam. But she stared at him, the conflict raging in her eyes. What if it can save us? Her words hung in the air, taunting him with their allure. Before he could respond, the ground beneath them heaved violently, and the dark fire flared even brighter, pulling at the edges of his sanity. A voice, guttural and frayed, cut through the chaos. You are standing on the threshold where worlds converge. Jake's heart froze. The voice seemed to emanate from the depths of the altar itself, shaking him to his core. Step closer and you shall know. Panic surged as the mist thickened once more, swirling violently until it formed a cyclone of despair around them. Jake grabbed Samantha's hand, his instincts screaming to run, but his feet felt glued to the earth, and then, out of the mist emerged a figure. Tall and shadowy, it stepped toward them, ethereal eyes locking onto Samantha's, a knowing glimmer flickering with intent. Choose now, girl. Your journey awaits along with profound darkness. Jake felt the tether snap. Samantha's resolve melted into fear. Jake, no. He shouted, looking back at the figure even as it raised a skeletal hand. We can't, don't trust it, Sam. As the specter took another pace forward, the ground trembled, and the light from the altar grew searing bright, threatening to envelop them whole. Jake's heart raced, a pulse of urgency propelling him. Samantha, we have to go. Now. He urged, not knowing what would happen if they stayed, but what haunted him was the truth she sought. Could she truly turn her back on the whispers? As the figure stepped closer, a chill gripped the air. Jake's grip tightened around Samantha's hand, their eyes locking in a final moment of trust, but uncertainty hung heavy between them. With a sudden crash, a deep crack of energy burst from the altar, sending a shockwave through the valley. They were on the edge of something incomprehensible, and behind them, the shadows grew frenzied. Could their bond withstand the darkness threatening to pull them apart? Or was this the beginning of a truth that would unravel everything they held dear? The mist swirled again, whispering promises of knowledge and peril, and just as it seemed all would be lost, a new sound clawed through the air, a child's laughter, innocent and bright, cutting through the dark. What had it all meant? What lies hidden remained underneath the surface, beckoning them to unravel a final mystery. The laughter echoed through the dense mist, a stark contrast to the chaos swirling around them. It sent shivers down Jake's spine. He clenched Samantha's hand tighter, glancing around wildly, heart racing. They were caught between two worlds, one that beckoned them with a sweetness of innocence and another that promised unfathomable darkness. Did you hear that? Samantha asked, eyes wide, a mixture of fear and fascination etched on her face. It's just another trick. We have to leave. Jake urged, his voice strained. The laughter was childlike, almost mocking in its clarity, yet tinged with an underlying sadness that made his skin crawl. Maybe it's a sign, she whispered, stepping toward the altar. The glow of the carvings pulsed rhythmically, syncing with her heartbeat. What if it's the answer we're looking for? Sam, don't. He pulled back as she edged closer to the altar, fear and desperation clashing within him. The specter loomed closer, its skeletal visage now twisted in a grotesque smile. The laughter crescendoed, swirling around them like a soft breeze, and Jake felt a surprising tug in his chest, a mixture of curiosity and dread he couldn't shake off. Pieces of memories flickered through his mind, tales of lost children, of wishes whispered to the stars, lingering echoes of hope that often hid behind tragedy. Step forward, Samantha, the figure urged, extending its hand, skeletal fingers twitching invitingly. Your truth waits. No. Sam, listen to me. Jake shouted, feeling the ground beneath him shift as if yearning to swallow them both whole. This isn't what we came for. This is a trap. Maybe it's a chance to help. She called back, her voice trembling. The shadows twisted, pulling tighter around Jake, whispering secrets he didn't want to hear. The laughter faded, replaced by a sob, a child's sob, heartbreakingly raw. Jake's heart fractured as he watched Samantha's resolve wane. She was battling something ancient and dark, yet undeniably compelling. Choose. The spectre boomed, sending a ripple through the mist. The child or the truth? Will you chase ghosts or seek salvation? Jake's heart raced, torn between the spectre and Samantha, who seemed to blur beneath the weight of choice. Darkness clawed at their sanity, intertwining with the desires they held. He could barely breathe, the air thick with dread and urgency. Jake, what if? Samantha's voice trailed off. The uncertainty in her tone pierced him, and the shadows grinned wider, drunk on her hesitation. No, don't even think about it. His voice came out as a desperate plea, each word laced with urgency. We don't know what this choice means. It could destroy everything. Don't give in to it. Samantha froze, her gaze locked onto Jake, the conflict evident in her eyes. He could see the depths of the shadows trying to lure her, wrapping around her thoughts like a fog. The ground quaked again this time, tremors coursed through Jake's bones. He steeled himself, rallying every ounce of will to pull her back. We're stronger than this. We can face it together. The spectre drew closer, a mirage of fear and promise intermingled. You stand at the edge of knowledge, little girl. Once you step through, you cannot return. Are you willing to abandon your companion? He will not follow. The laughter returned, mocking them as Samantha wavered. Jake could feel the shadow's pull seeping into his thoughts, memories of his own past screaming for attention. Don't let it trick you. He shouted, desperation pouring from his soul. You're not alone. Remember what we've faced together. As if triggered by his words, the spectral figure recoiled, recoiling into the mist. The laughter changed, morphing into a cacophony of cries innocent yet laced with anguish. Samantha looked back, uncertainty battling against a strange yearning. What if this or whatever lies beyond is the truth we need? No. His voice cracked, fear surging. But deep within, he recognized the bittersweet truth. Samantha was drawn to understanding, while he clung to fear. They were fractured two sides of a coin, their grip faltered, and Jake felt himself ready to plunge into the mist, into whatever awaited them. But was it for the truth? The knowledge? As Jake's vision darkened, a loud crashing echoed, slicing through the air, and in that fleeting moment, he saw not only the glimmer of hope but a promise of doom, what awaited them on the other side of the veil. Would either return whole, and at what cost? The mist twisted, looming over them as shadows danced, leaving only one question hanging in the charged air: would they dare to take the plunge into the unknown, or had they already crossed the line of no return? The mist swirled around Jake and Samantha, thick with uncertainty, as their minds raced. Just moments ago, laughter echoed a haunting reminder of innocence. Now, it was a cacophony of cries and shadows, a negotiation of fate hanging palpably in the air. Remember what we faced together. Jake shouted again, his voice slicing through the mist. The words resonated like a lifeline. Memories flashed in his mind, their shared laughter, the moments of trust, the fire of adventure igniting within them both. Samantha blinked, heart racing. Something shifted in her expression, a flicker of clarity cutting through the fog. But what if the truth is here? She whispered, torn between desire and caution. Then we face it together. Jake pleaded. We're stronger united. Don't let the shadows pull you apart. He took a step toward her, grounding their union in that moment, that essence of shared struggle against overwhelming odds. The spectre coiled closer, like a snake prepared to strike. Truth is a double-edged blade, it hissed, a sinister echo in the vastness. What you seek could unravel everything, or grant you unending knowledge. Listen to it, Sam. Jake urged, voice trembling. Everything we accomplished leads us here. But this isn't what we signed up for. Samantha's gaze darted from the shadowy figure to Jake, and in that glance, he saw the fear, the curiosity, and the weight of the choice bearing down on her soul. Choose now. The spectre howled, shadows fluttering like frenzied wings. The child or your companion? One choice will bind you forever, the other will let you walk away. Jake felt that impossible tension tighten. It was as if the air itself spoke of dread. Samantha's skin glistened with a sheen of doubt, yet there was a spark in her eyes and awakening. But the child, her voice faltered. No. We cannot forsake everything. Jake shouted, anguish piercing his heart. Not for something we cannot understand. Not for a promise of knowledge that could break us. Samantha staggered back slightly, eyes darting from the altar's glow to Jake. It could be the answer to everything we've searched for. The truth about the shadows, but what is it worth? Jake pressed, desperation clawing through him. Will knowing destroy who we are? Will it erase the very bond we share? The ground rumbled beneath them again, reverberating with the weight of prophecy, the atmosphere thickening as the shadows pulsed collectively, eager for their responses. Before she could reply, Jake stepped forward, determination igniting a fierce resolve. Sam, look at me. Remember who we are together. His voice fell softer, wrapping around the truth of their interwoven paths. I can't lose you to this darkness. We're supposed to discover the truth of the world together, not as shadows lost in its folds, but as ourselves, whole and exploring. Tension flickered in the air, fear morphed into poignant courage in her eyes. You think I want to choose the shadows? She responded angrily, a fierce tremor in her words. This is bigger than both of us. But perhaps enough of the what-ifs. We can't let it trick us. Jake cut in sharply. What we already know, the friendship, the truth we've unearthed along the way, that's what matters. She shook her head, confusion washing over her. And if staying here means betray the ultimate truth? No, 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 I won't let you. His voice surged with fervor, a raw power igniting in his chest. We have made it through so much. We simply cannot give in now. Please, just step back. Jake's heart thundered as she hesitated, the internal struggle playing out like an epic battle over her features. The shadows shifted, the figures grew restless, dark laughter clawing through the air. Samantha gasped, fighting against that seductive whisper. But the knowledge they offer is simply a facade. Jake shouted back, seeing her teeter on the brink. They keep you here, mired in deceit. Suddenly, the shadows whipped violently around them. It felt as if the very ground beneath was tearing apart. Sam, we are not lost. We've never been lost. He took a deep breath, his words carefully chosen, like stepping on thin ice. You've always guided us. Let that guide you now. A flicker of recognition illuminated her face, vulnerability blending with fierce loyalty in the depths of her gaze. They want to consume you. He urged, feeling the heaviness of despair still moving around them. The truth, if it comes, must be unveiled on our terms. Together. Her lips trembled, contemplation flickering in her eyes. What if all of this, every ancient threat and every hidden truth, was aimed at us to begin with? What if? No. Sam. Jake roared, a tidal wave of desperation clawing up his throat, a plea, a prayer. Stay with me. Seek the truth together. The only truth worth knowing is one that leaves us both standing face to face, hand in hand. And in the throes of that final moment, something remarkable happened. Samantha's expression softened, and as if an eternal dam had burst, clarity flooded her being. But I need you to keep fighting too, she whispered, stepping back from the shadowy figure. In everything that I am, together we're unstoppable. A sudden flicker of bright energy surged, illuminating the chamber, and the shadows recoiled as if scorched by the light that filled the space between them. Seek the truth together. They shouted, harmonizing in perfect unity, a declaration pulling them both away from the precipice of despair. Shadows hissed, mocking their resolve, but a new fire ignited deep inside. Their hands clasped tightly, and together they turned from the spectral figure, the darkness evaporating as they stepped toward the unknown. Together, and as they moved through the mist, hand in hand, Jake felt the weight lifting, a promise binding them, forging a bond beyond the dark. They would face whatever lay ahead, and illuminate the shadows as light pulled them toward a new realm, a new beginning. As they crossed that threshold, the cacophony of screams and laughter faded, replaced with a harmonic resonance. Their fates intertwined, they stepped confidently into the expanse of the unknown, knowers, seekers, and explorers of the deepest truths the world had to offer. Behind them, the darkness whispered. But it would never reclaim them. Now, if you felt the intensity of this journey, it's time to take action. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that will blow your mind. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and let everyone see the power of this tale. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. What do you think will happen next? And don't you dare wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who simply have to see this conclusion. Let us spread this epic journey together.